For 25 years, Elena Smith refused to accept that her daughter had simply vanished. While others packed away their grief in boxes of faded photographs, she transformed her living room into an investigation center filled with maps covering walls, case files stacked on tables, and a phone that never stopped ringing. "They told me to move on," Elena says in recordings from 2019. But how do you move on when 22 innocent kids disappear without leaving behind a single footprint? What would you do if your child boarded a school bus one summer morning and never returned? If police investigations yielded nothing but questions? If an entire graduating class, your daughter, her classmates, and their teachers, disappeared into the wilderness of Oregon's National Forest as completely as if they'd been erased from existence? On June 12, 1996, Westridge High School's senior trip departed from Pinewood, Oregon with 22 excited teen students, 3 faculty members, and 1 bus driver. 3 days later, the forest had swallowed them whole. What was disturbing was there wasn't a single distress calls or abandoned vehicles to trace them. There were no bodies, nothing but silence and the crushing weight of unanswered questions. Most would have surrendered to despair. Most parents did and gave up, but Elena Blackwood wasn't most people. This isn't just another disappearance story. This is about a mother who refused to stop searching until she uncovered the horrifying truth about what happened to the Westridge High School class of 1996. Before we continue, if unexplained disappearances and the dark corners of human experience intrigue you, subscribe now and join our community of truth seekers. Because some mysteries don't want to be solved, but that's never stopped us before. Pinewood, Oregon sat nestled between ancient evergreens and misty mountains. Population was about 2,843, according to the welcome sign that hadn't been updated since 1990. It was a place where everyone knew your business before you did, where the local diner served as both a gathering spot and unofficial town hall. The class of 1996 was special, not just according to their parents, but by measurable standards. With 37 graduates, they produced record-breaking test scores, 4 state athletic championships, and unprecedented college acceptance rates. At the center stood Zoe Blackwood, valedictorian and daughter of Elena, who taught 3rd grade at Pinewood Elementary. Zoe had secured a full scholarship to Cornell, a fact her mother mentioned perhaps too frequently at the grocery store. Alongside her was Malik Torres, basketball captain heading to UCLA, Rebecca Chun, science genius bound for MIT, and Jacob Winters, class clown who'd found his calling in film production. They were inseparable, Elena recalls in her journal. Even with their different interests, they moved as a unit. That's what made the end-of-year trip so important to them. Elena had hesitations from the beginning. The location changed twice, she noted in her personal records. First it was going to be at Crater Lake, then Mount Hood, finally settling on this remote section of the National Forest. Each time, Principal Mercer insisted the change was necessary. Theodore Mercer had arrived at Westridge just 2 years prior, a middle-aged administrator with an impressive resume but few personal connections. His enthusiasm for the trip bordered on fixation. In faculty meetings, he described it as transformative and life-altering, puzzling language for what should have been a simple camping trip. When I questioned the remoteness of the location, he became defensive, science teacher Vivian Latimer later told investigators. He said something about the area having exceptional energy concentrations that would benefit the students. Other warning signs went unnoticed. Mercer's sudden interest in astronomy, his purchase of unusual electronic equipment, the maps of the forest with certain areas circled in red marker. The bus driver, Otto Kellerman, expressed concern about the unmarked roads but was assured they were navigable. 2 weeks before departure, Elena found Zoe's journal open on her bed. A passage caught her eye. Principal M seems different lately. He keeps talking about ascension and cosmic alignment. Makes me wonder if he's okay. When questioned, Zoe brushed it off as stress about graduation. The permission slips were signed, the equipment purchased, the excitement building. Nobody connected the dots that would have revealed a pattern forming, a pattern that would ultimately lead 22 young lives and 4 adults into darkness. Dawn broke clear and bright on June 12, 1996. By 7 a.m., Westridge High's parking lot buzzed with activity. Students loading duffel bags into the school bus's cargo hold, parents snapping final photos, tearful hugs exchanged with younger siblings. The morning air carried a sense of excitement, mixed with the bittersweet knowledge that life would never be exactly the same after this trip. Zoe was quieter than usual, Elena recalled in her testimony. She hugged me twice, not once but twice before boarding. I didn't think much of it then. Principal Mercer stood by the bus door, checking names off a clipboard with unusual precision. The science teacher, Vivian Latimer, distributed trail maps, while Coach Washington loaded the last of the camping gear. At 7:45 a.m., the bus pulled away, followed by two SUVs carrying additional supplies and faculty. The last normal moments of 37 young lives captured in disposable camera snapshots and hasty goodbyes. Communication was expected to be limited given the remote location, but several students made contact during the first day. Rebecca Chun texted her mother about the beautiful drive. Jacob Winters left a voicemail for his girlfriend describing the weirdest campsite I've ever seen. Not even sure we're in the right place. At 4:17 p.m., Malik Torres sent what would become the final communication from any member of the group, a photo of fog-shrouded trees with the caption, "This forest feels alive." June 15th arrived without the scheduled 3 p.m. return. By 4:30, parents gathered at the school, checking watches, making nervous small talk. At 6 p.m., Elena called the sheriff. By 8 p.m., the first official report was filed. The first 24 hours of the missing persons case are crucial, Sheriff Thomas Rowland stated at the press conference days later. But when 25 people vanish together, conventional protocols collapse. Search teams mobilized by dawn the next day. Local police, forest rangers, volunteer firefighters, and community members combing designated campgrounds and trails. Helicopter sweeps revealed nothing but uninterrupted forest canopy. Cell signals were traced to towers near the forest entrance, but provided no definitive location. Days stretched into weeks. 9 units found no scent trails. The search expanded to include neighboring counties, then federal agencies. "They're looking in the wrong places," Elena insisted after the second week, pointing to inconsistencies in the official search grid. When authorities dismissed her concerns, she began hiking sections of the forest herself, armed with nothing but a compass and her daughter's senior portrait. CNN arrived on day 12, followed by major networks and true crime reporters. Entire class vanishes screamed headlines across America. Psychics offered their services. Conspiracy theorists flooded online forums with tales of alien abductions and government experiments. By month 3, media trucks departed. In the 6th month, the FBI scaled back operations. By the 1-year anniversary, the case file had been labeled open but inactive despite protests from families. "They're written off as dead," Elena said during a poorly attended press conference on the steps of the Pinewood courthouse. But without bodies, without evidence, how can they be sure? The town was divided between those who needed closure and those who clung to impossible hope. Most families eventually accepted the prevailing theory: a catastrophic accident in an unmapped ravine, bodies swept away by the river's powerful current. Elena Blackwood did not. 5 years after the disappearance, while cleaning Zoe's untouched bedroom, Elena discovered a loose floorboard beneath the bed. Inside the hidden compartment lay a leather journal wrapped in plastic, pages filled with her daughter's handwriting, chronicling months of observations about Principal Mercer and references to something called the Listeners. The final entry, dated June 11th, the night before departure, contained 4 words that would change everything. "He knows I know." 18 months after the Pinewood Academy disappearances, Detective Morgan closed the case file with a heavy sigh. The students were gone without a trace. No bodies, no compelling suspects, no conclusive evidence. "We've exhausted every lead," Morgan told the assembled press. But this isn't over. Those words rang hollow through the community as days turned to months. In the 2nd year, the investigation had cycled through 4 possible scenarios: abduction by an outside party, student planned escape, accidental deaths with hidden remains, or deliberate harm by someone within the school. Each theory eventually collapsed under scrutiny. "The timeline makes no sense," Detective Zhang explained to her colleagues. 5 students can't vanish in a 15-minute window without someone seeing something. The forensic analysis proved equally frustrating. Partial footprints near the east fence suggested someone crossed the boundary, but rain had washed away crucial details. Cell phone records showed no unusual communications. Bank accounts remained untouched. Detective Morgan pursued the possibility of cult activity after finding cryptic symbols in one student's notebook, but this path grew cold when the symbols were identified as merely doodles from a popular video game. In the 3rd year, the FBI closed their active involvement. The case remained open but inactive, a designation that crushed the waiting families. Pinewood Academy enrollment dropped 60%, and houses around the school was sold at fractions of their value. Where children once played, silence stretched across empty yards. The community constructed a memorial garden with 5 stone benches, each bearing a name and favorite quote. Elena Garcia, cousin to missing student Miguel, couldn't accept the official surrender. A journalism graduate with minimal resources, she began retracing the investigation steps. They ignored crucial witness testimony. Elena told anyone who would listen. 3 separate accounts mentioned unusual lights in the administrative building that night. Her requests for access to security footage were repeatedly denied. Anonymous calls warned her to let sleeping dogs lie. The Academy administration stopped returning her calls. True crime media discovered the story by year 4. Missing 5 became the subject of documentary specials on major networks. Podcasts with names like Academy of Shadows and Vanished at Pinewood gained substantial followings. Theories multiplied, but evidence remained scarce. Elena appeared on several shows, becoming the public face of continued investigation. Through these connections, she gained access to research resources previously beyond her reach. During a late-night research session, Elena discovered Principal Mercer had changed his name 20 years earlier. Before becoming Edward Mercer, he was Edward Morrison, a teaching assistant at another school that had experienced unexplained phenomena. She compiled a dossier on Mercer, his sudden career changes, unexplained wealth, and the strange coincidence that he had been present at 3 different educational institutions where unusual events occurred. When Elena attempted to confront him with these findings, she discovered he had resigned and moved without leaving a forwarding address. "This isn't a coincidence," she told her growing online community of amateur investigators. "The connection to Mercer is the thread we need to follow." As the 5th anniversary of the disappearances approached, Elena received an unmarked package containing a student ID card belonging to Miguel. It couldn't be authenticated, but the message was clear that someone was watching her investigation. And perhaps someone was ready to talk. July 2019 brought scorching heat to Pinewood County as Elena Garcia sorted through dusty storage boxes in her cramped apartment. 7 years of investigation had yielded minimal progress, but her determination remained unwavering. The breakthrough came from an unlikely source, a former Academy janitor who contacted Elena through her website. "I found this while cleaning out an old maintenance shed," he told her, sliding a crumpled invoice across the coffee shop table. "Never thought much of it until I heard your podcast interview." Elena's hands trembled as she examined the document. 3 weeks before the disappearances, Principal Mercer had personally authorized a purchase of specialized equipment: geological survey tools, advanced radio frequency monitors, and unusual lighting apparatus. The items weren't part of any approved school program. Where would these items be stored? Elena asked. "That's the thing," the janitor replied. "I never saw any of it, and I had access to every room in that building." Armed with this evidence, Elena approached retired Detective Mills, the only officer who'd maintained interest in the case after its official closure. Their meeting in his fishing cabin marked the beginning of a crucial alliance. "I couldn't pursue certain angles while on the force," Mills admitted, pouring them both coffee. "There were budget constraints, jurisdictional issues, politics. But mostly, my captain thought I was chasing ghosts." Mills still had contacts in the department. Within weeks, he secured access to sealed records, including complete student statements deemed irrelevant during the original investigation. They discarded anything that didn't fit their abduction theory, Mills explained, spreading files across his dining table. Look at these witness accounts from the days before. Students had reported unusual equipment in the East Wing basement, rooms suddenly declared off-limits, and strange noises during night hours. Most concerning were the accounts of flashing lights in the woods visible from dormitory windows. The most valuable discovery came when Mills obtained Zoe Chen's journal, evidence previously overlooked because pages appear to be missing. I'm worried about Principal Mercer. Zoe had written 2 days before the field trip. He's been asking odd questions about our dreams, about whether we've ever experienced lost time. Today, he pulled me aside to ask if I'd ever felt like reality wasn't quite right. When I told him sometimes, his eyes lit up like I'd passed some test. He specifically recommended I join the forest ecology trip. Elena felt cold despite the summer heat. He selected them. Further journal entries revealed Mercer had approached each of the 22 missing students individually, encouraging their participation in the trip. Elena tracked down 3 former students who had initially signed up for the excursion but withdrew at the last minute. My dad got sick, explained former student Tyler Williams. Total blessing in disguise. Mercer was weirdly disappointed when I pulled out. Called my house twice to see if I could still make it. Another student, Mackenzie Dowell, remembered Mercer kept talking about how the forest trip would open our minds to new possibilities. He mentioned something about thinning boundaries that didn't make sense. Using these accounts, Elena created a detailed map of the forest area, marking locations where students had noted unusual occurrences. She identified a 2-mile radius that had been systematically overlooked during the original search, a section crossed by unusual magnetic field patterns, according to geological survey data she obtained. They were looking in the wrong places, Elena told Mills during a late-night call, or deliberately avoiding the right one. However, Elena's attempts to gain permission for an official exploration were denied by county officials, citing safety concerns and respect for the memorial site. If authorities won't investigate properly, I'll do it myself, Elena decided, withdrawing her life savings. She contacted Reina Ochoa, a wilderness guide with a military background known for leading expeditions through the most challenging terrains. Ochoa's reputation for discretion and expertise with unusual environments made her the perfect partner. I need someone who won't dismiss what might sound impossible, Elena explained during their first meeting. Reina studied Elena's research silently before responding. I've seen things in remote places that defy explanation, she finally said. But I need you to understand that if we find answers in those woods, they might not be answers you're prepared for. Elena nodded. I've spent 7 years chasing the truth. I'm ready for whatever we find. Their expedition was set for October 17th, exactly 7 years after the disappearances. July 15th, 2021. The summer humidity hung thick among the dense pines as Reina Ochoa paused, listening. 2 years of exhaustive expeditions had yielded nothing until now. Elena followed close behind, swatting mosquitoes from her neck. There's something metallic ahead, Reina whispered, adjusting her pack. Stay close. They pushed through a wall of vegetation into a small clearing, and Elena gasped. There, nestled among overgrown foliage and partially covered by climbing vines, stood a yellow school bus. The Pinewood Academy logo remained visible beneath layers of dirt and plant growth. Impossible, Elena breathed. This area was searched repeatedly. Reina studied the surroundings with practiced eyes. No, it wasn't. Look at the terrain configuration. This clearing sits in a natural depression. From above, the tree canopy creates perfect camouflage. Ground teams would need to pass within 15 feet to spot it. The bus doors hung partially open. Despite a decade of exposure to elements, the vehicle showed minimal weathering. No rust, no decay. The paint remained bright beneath the grime. This doesn't make sense, Reina noted, examining the tires. These should be rotted, yet they're intact. Backpacks remained positioned on seats. A water bottle stood upright. A jacket hung from a hook. It was as if time had stopped within these metal walls. "It's like they just stepped out," Elena whispered, moving down the aisle. On the driver's seat lay a leather-bound book. Elena recognized the monogrammed initials, E.M. Edward Mercer. She opened it with trembling hands. "It's his journal," she confirmed, flipping through pages filled with meticulous handwriting. Listen to this entry from the day before they vanished. The conditions align perfectly. The magnetic anomalies are peaking. The students I've chosen all demonstrate the markers. Tomorrow we cross. With this discovery, authorities could no longer ignore Elena's findings. A formal search operation launched the following day. By July 18th, they located 2 Academy SUVs hidden under natural canopies half a mile from the bus. Like the bus, they remained in unsettling, pristine condition. The breakthrough came on July 21st when ground-penetrating radar detected a hollow area beneath a rock formation. Workers cleared vegetation, revealing a narrow fissure in the stone, just wide enough for a person to squeeze through. "I'm going first," Elena insisted, despite objections from the search team. The passage descended steeply for 30 feet before opening into a vast underground chamber. The temperature dropped noticeably. The air felt unusually dry, preserving everything it touched. Elena's flashlight beam caught reflective surfaces ahead only to see equipments, advanced cameras, measuring devices, and lights positioned in a precise geometric pattern. In the chamber's center, 5 figures sat arranged in a perfect circle, facing inward. They appeared to be in deep meditation, back straight, hands resting on knees. The beam trembled in Elena's grip as she approached. Their school uniforms remained crisp, their skin unblemished. Miguel, her cousin, looked exactly as he had 10 years prior, frozen in time, yet without decay. "Miguel?" she whispered, her voice echoing. No response came. The 5 students remained motionless, preserved like insects in amber. Their skin felt cool to touch, but retained an unusual elasticity. There was no heartbeats and no breathing. Yet this wasn't death as medicine understood it. Between them sat Principal Mercer, cross-legged, journal open on his lap. Unlike the students, his preservation appeared incomplete, his form partially translucent, as if existing between states of matter. The final journal entry, dated the day of disappearance, read, "The boundary thins. We will cross over. I prepared them for the transition. If successful, we'll be the first to document what lies beyond perception. If you're reading this, we haven't returned. Do not attempt to follow unless you understand the equations on the following pages. The way remains open, but passage requires precise conditions." Elena sank to her knees beside Miguel, touching his unchanged face. 10 years of searching culminated in this moment. Vindication mixed with crushing grief. "They never left," she whispered to the search team gathering behind her. "They were here all along, caught between something alien." Scientists and specialists descended upon the cave in the following days. Despite advanced equipment and exhaustive tests, no one could explain the preservation phenomenon. The students and Mercer remained in their inexplicable state, not dead by any medical definition, yet certainly not alive. The mystery of their condition sparked global fascination. Theories range from experimental cryogenics to quantum entanglement accidents. What do you think happened in that cave? What could explain their perfect preservation over a decade without conventional life signs? How did an entire search party miss these vehicles for years? Share your theories in the comments below. August 2021. The Pinewood discovery transformed from local mystery to global phenomenon overnight. News helicopters hovered above the forest while government vehicles lined the rural roads. Authorities established a half-mile exclusion zone around the cave entrance. Elena watched from behind hastily erected barriers as specialized teams in hazmat suits filed in and out of the site. Her decade-long quest had yielded answers, but not closure. "They won't let me see him again," she told Raina as they observed the activity from their monitoring position. "They've classified everything. Dr. Abigail Winters, the lead physicist assigned to the case, approached them on day 5. Her exhaustion showed through professional composure. "Ms. Garcia, we need your help understanding these journals," she admitted. Mercer's equations reference theoretical concepts decades beyond current research. "We believe he discovered something fundamental about reality." Inside the restricted research facility, Elena examined the evidence collected from the cave. Mercer's equipment combined standard scientific instruments with modified components no one could identify. His journals contained thousands of calculations, gradually evolving over 20 years of work. The preserved students became the central focus of international scientific debate. Their condition defied medical explanation. Tissue samples showed cellular activity frozen in mid-process, neither deteriorating nor continuing. Physical contact with them remained strictly prohibited after a lab technician experienced temporary paralysis and vivid hallucinations following direct skin contact. By November, the families received limited access. Elena accompanied Miguel's parents to the observation room, watching through glass as they viewed their son, unchanged after 11 years. "Is he aware?" Miguel's mother asked, her hand pressed against the partition. No one could answer with certainty. Brain scans showed unusual activity, patterns that matched neither sleep nor wakefulness. Occasional synchronized fluctuations occurred across all 6 subjects, suggesting some form of shared mental state. The revelation that changed everything came in December, when a research assistant noticed subtle movements captured on time-lapse footage. "They're moving," Elena realized, studying the compiled footage, just at a different time scale. Further analysis confirmed her theory. The 6 individuals were experiencing time at approximately 1/10,000 th normal human speed. A single blink might take months to complete. Professor Haruki Tanaka, a quantum physicist from Tokyo University, proposed the most compelling explanation. Mercer may have discovered how to partially phase human consciousness into an adjacent dimensional state, a place where our physical laws operate differently. The subjects exist simultaneously in our reality and elsewhere. Elena discovered additional notes hidden in Mercer's journal binding, instructions for reversing the process. The scientific team dismissed them as too dangerous to attempt. "We can't risk accelerating whatever's happening," Dr. Winters insisted. "The potential consequences." "They've been trapped for 11 years, Elena countered. "Miguel's parents deserve to know if their son can return." The debate raged for months within the scientific community. Ethical considerations clashed with experimental protocols. Families demanded action while researchers urged caution. In April 2022, Elena made a decision that would change everything. Using her access credentials, she entered the secure facility during shift change. She had memorized Mercer's reversal procedure after being denied a copy. Security footage later showed her entering the chamber alone, carrying nothing but Mercer's journal. She positioned herself in the center of the circle, among the 6 frozen figures. When guards discovered her 20 minutes later, they found Elena in the same state as the others, perfectly preserved, conscious, but operating at a profoundly different temporal rate. But something had changed. The 6 original subjects showed accelerated movement. Time-lapse monitoring confirmed they were speeding up, returning gradually toward normal temporal alignment. 3 days later, Miguel opened his eyes, took a deep breath, and spoke his first words in 11 years. "She found us." "Oh my God." Elena pulled us back. The other students awakened hours apart, each describing identical experiences. Consciousness expanding beyond physical form, perception of countless realities layered upon each other, communication with entities beyond human understanding. Principal Mercer remained in his semi-translucent state, neither returning fully nor completely gone. Miguel described their shared experience. "Time didn't exist there. We experienced everything simultaneously." Mercer told us he'd done it before, crossed over partially, but this time he went too far. We couldn't find our way back until Elena created an anchor between worlds. As for Elena, she remained in her preserved state, now experiencing time at the same decelerated rate the students had. Calculations suggested she might awaken. Miguel dedicated himself to continuing Elena's work, studying Mercer's equations and coordinating with the scientific team. His single focus, finding a way to bring his cousin home from between worlds. What would you sacrifice to save someone lost between realities? Have you ever experienced moments where time seemed to flow differently? Share your thoughts below. June 2022, Miguel Garcia hunched over his laptop in the basement command center he'd established. Walls covered with maps, timelines, and photocopied journal pages created a physical web of connections. He'd promised to continue where Elena left off. Miguel cross-referenced the coordinates with missing persons databases. A pattern emerged: group disappearances in wilderness areas, often near unusual geological formations. Cases where searches yielded nothing despite massive efforts. 7 hikers in Colorado, 1982. 4 researchers in Norway, 1997. 9 tourists in Australia, 2008, Miguel listed. All vanished without trace near coordinates marked on this forum. Miguel created a secure online platform where families of the mysteriously vanished could share information. Within months, a community formed: parents, siblings, and friends who'd faced the same official stonewalling and eventually abandoned cases. My brother and 5 colleagues disappeared during a geological survey in Montana, 2011, wrote one member. Their equipment was found perfectly arranged in a circle. Authorities classified everything. Another shared, when my daughter's research team vanished in Finland, I found journals describing thinning places and windows between worlds. Government agents confiscated everything. These connections attracted independent investigators, physicists, anthropologists, and journalists drawn to the expanding mystery. Together, they pooled resources and expertise, analyzing Mercer's equations and gathering data from sites worldwide. Dr. Lydia Chun, a quantum physicist who joined the coalition, discovered a mathematical pattern in the forum's coordinate postings. These aren't random locations. They follow a predictable progression across the Earth's surface, corresponding to specific astronomical alignments. Government agencies maintained official silence, though surveillance of Miguel's operation became increasingly obvious. Black SUVs parked on a street. His communications experienced mysterious interruptions. Anonymous sources warned him to stop digging. They know more than they're admitting, Reina concluded after discovering listening devices in their workspace. Question is, are they trying to prevent these events or control them? Do you believe these disappearances point to genuine paranormal phenomena? Or is this evidence of human conspiracy and experimentation? Could powerful groups be hiding knowledge of dimensional boundaries? Share your theory in the comments. October 16th, 2023. The New Mexico desert stretched endlessly under a moonless sky as Miguel led a team of 12 toward the calculated coordinates. Government warnings had been explicit. The area was restricted due to environmental hazards. They proceeded anyway, evading monitoring drones and patrol vehicles. Elena would have come regardless of the risk. Miguel reminded the team when doubts surfaced. We owe her this. Dr. Chun carried equipment designed to measure the phenomena Mercer had documented. Former Detective Mills brought tactical experience. They reached the coordinates at midnight, a circular depression amid rock formations. The ground bore unusual markings, geometric patterns carved into stone, weathered by centuries of exposure. These are identical to the markings in the Pinewood cave, Dr. Chun confirmed, examining them with ultraviolet light. Government vehicles surrounded the depression. Armed personnel established the perimeters. From a lead vehicle emerged an elderly man in a wheelchair, Dr. Ashton Voss, the renowned physicist who disappeared from public life decades earlier. I hoped you'd come, Voss addressed Miguel directly. We've monitored your research. Voss revealed the truth that connected everything. In 1978, his research team had accidentally opened a permanent gateway between dimensions. The entities on the other side, beings beyond human comprehension, offered knowledge in exchange for temporary human vessels. We thought we could control the exchanges, Voss explained, his voice hollow with regret. The first volunteers returned changed but intact. Then things went wrong. As midnight approached, the phenomenon intensified. The air shimmered, reality bending visibly. Within this distortion, a familiar figure appeared. Elena Garcia somehow projected herself from her suspended state. "I've seen what lies beyond." Her voice echoed strangely, as if coming from everywhere at once. The students weren't victims. They're pioneers. The boundary between worlds is breaking down naturally. What's happening can't be stopped, only prepared for. Elena revealed what she'd learned in her suspended state. Consciousness could exist beyond physical form. The students hadn't been trapped, but transformed, existing simultaneously across multiple realities. January 2024, 3 months after the New Mexico revelation, humanity remained fundamentally changed. Miguel's decision to release all findings and find the remaining missing people, Mercer's research, Voss's confession, and documented evidence from multiple sites almost divided in everything. In Pinewood, the community transformed again, this time into a center for dimensional research. The preserved students were now fully awakened and exhibited abilities beyond conventional human capacity. The families who'd lost loved ones to similar phenomena reacted differently to the truth. Some found peace, knowing their missing weren't suffering but evolving. Others couldn't accept that what returned might not be entirely human anymore. Research continued at sites worldwide, now conducted openly with international oversight. Protocols developed to help those experiencing spontaneous dimensional shifts. Education programs prepared humanity for a future where reality itself might be more fluid than once believed. During a private moment at Elena's observation room, Miguel placed her journal beside her still form. "You taught me that a mother's love doesn't stop at the boundaries of conventional reality," he told her. "You crossed dimensions to find answers. Your courage changed everything." The ultimate lesson emerged clearly. Human connection transcends physical limitations. Love exists beyond conventional dimensions. Truth, which can be however frightening, offers better guidance than comfortable ignorance. For every mystery solved, deeper questions emerged. The universe revealed itself as more complex, and human consciousness far more powerful than science had previously acknowledged. The boundary between known and unknown continues shifting. What would you do if faced with truth that challenges everything you believe about reality? Imagine you wake up one day to see your child being affected by the evolution of the world. Would you choose comfortable ignorance or difficult enlightenment? Subscribe and share your thoughts below on how far you would go to understand the mysteries that shape our existence.